Hi there, this is Krista Moore with the Krista Moore Show, and it's fun to be in a different studio. We're in a lovely room at the Ronald McDonald House here in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm so excited to have Oie as my guest today. He's the executive director and a longtime friend, and I finally get to interview you.
I know, it's awesome.
It's great, and I love being on site. So our topic today is about cause marketing, and some people may or may not be familiar with what cause marketing is, but there really are a lot of trends in corporations and small businesses to align to a cause, a social cause, to their business, and there's wonderful benefits from that. So we're going to get into that subject today. But before we begin, I would like to just recognize how proud I am of you.
You're very kind.
Now, I have to tell a little story because I knew Oie 19 years ago. I mean, who knows? It was a long time ago. You were a sales manager for an office products company, and we have a lot of our community, our small independent office products. So he certainly can understand what you go through every day,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But the coincidence behind it is we've lost touch over the years, but then I saw a press release where you had received this position. And was that 7 years ago?
It'll be 8 years ago tomorrow.
8 years ago tomorrow. He's celebrating his anniversary as the executive director of the Ronald McDonald House. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just perfect. You're like the perfect guy for this role. So I want them to get to know you a little bit. And how do you go from sales manager at an office products company to an executive director? What was it about this position, the passion and the purpose that this is really what was meant to be for you?
Yeah, well, I have always believed that you can always connect the dots backwards to things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I had after I knew you first,
yes,
I started a consulting company where I helped people find what they were designed and built to do.
And you wrote a book, because I remember you had.
Yeah, I wrote my first book and then since 2 more. So
like
I've got
series.
3 now, yes. Mm-hmm. And I help people try to find what they were designed and built to do, because I think we're all designed and built to do something.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of that, I started going on mission trips to Honduras with North Carolina Baptist men, and something happened to my heart there. And on one of those trips, me and 4 of my friends decided that we wanted to do something a little different. So we started our own nonprofit based in Honduras, and it's called Sharefish. Because
that's the title of the books too. It's the series. Yeah.
I grew up in Nash County, and my mama taught us it's better to be a sharefish than a selfish, right? And then I called a friend of mine to see if he wanted to be on my board at Sharefish, and he said, I would love to be on your board, but the timing's just not right. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm on the board at the Ronald McDonald House in Durham, and we just broke ground on a $7.2 million expansion, and our executive director left, and I am charged of the committee to find a new executive director. He said, you know lots of people, which is another way of saying you're really old.
Yeah, right.
And he said, I'm going to send you the position description, look at it, and if you know of anybody that it might fit, I hope you'll send them my way. It was 5 pages long. I printed it out, put it on my bedside table to read later that night, and my wife comes around the corner holding those pages and said, what is this? I explained to her. Mm-hmm. She said, you need to read this right now, because this is you.
It's you.
All of these pages scream you.
Oh,
and so
I love that story.
I read the job description. I said, you know what? I can't do this because it would be an obvious conflict of interest with Sharefish. Mm-hmm. And she said, call Jeff, see what he thinks. I called him. He said, I was hoping you would be interested. I'm going to put you in the mix. There were 71 people that applied.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, I just can't tell you, it was something bigger than me. I went through the process, and I was fortunate 8 years ago tomorrow to be named the executive director. And my wife says I jump out of bed every day because I just can't believe I get to do
what I do every day. And that it really resonates with me too, because we're often working with leaders and business owners and sales professionals that are trying to figure out, how do I get my purpose and my passion, and how do I align who I am and my God-given talents to giving back and having an impact on others in the right way, in the way that I'm designed and meant to be. Now, I understand that the Ronald McDonald House here was the 13th.
Correct. That's correct.
In the world.
That's correct.
And you started on the 13th of February.
That's correct.
And I think we talked a little bit about miracles. Yeah. Ronald McDonald miracles. And 13 is a lucky number.
Yeah, because when the house opened 40 years ago, it had 13 rooms. So 13 is our lucky number. It continues to show up everywhere we go. It's pretty cool.
That is great. Well, let's talk a little bit about cause marketing.
Okay.
And why don't you describe for our audience what exactly is cause marketing? And then we'll start to talk a little bit more about like the do's and don'ts when it comes to determining how to align your company to
it. Well, there are a lot of layers to cause marketing, but the basic premise of cause marketing is a company aligns with an organization to help them further their cause, and as a result, it helps that company in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and so when I think about cause marketing, maybe some things that come to mind for me initially are like Tom's shoes, and companies started to really emerge that were aligning themselves with more social causes.
That's correct. There are a lot of, they call them BOGO companies now, buy one, get one.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Bombas socks is another one, and on. And they're making some very positive impact around the world while doing business, which is it's really a great thing.
Yeah. So for small businesses in particular that are looking to align themselves with a cause and to get their employees and their culture kind of wrapped around that, what advice would you give them?
I think the number one thing that I think is critical, and I'm speaking from a recipient's point of view, we have a lot of companies that come in and want to help what we do, which is great because we need everybody's help. We can tell the difference in companies that it seems like they're being forced to do something.
Kind of checking the box.
Versus people who really understand they have the opportunity when they walk in our doors to really make an impact on somebody's lives who really need that impact.
Yeah.
And it is really a vastly different feeling when these companies
and you know it and you feel it, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to be a perfect match or a perfect fit, right?
That's correct.
And I think what would be great for our audience too is maybe a little bit of an overview of what the Ronald McDonald House represents and stands for, because so much of it has to do with families.
That is correct. Our tagline is keeping families close. And what that means is that their child is critically ill and being treated at the hospital. A lot of the families that show up here they show up with the clothes on their back, and they're not from here. They may be from 2 hours away in North Carolina. They may be from another state. They may be from another country, but they come to Durham, North Carolina because of what their child is going through. Or in our case, also to Raleigh, North Carolina, because we also have a Ronald McDonald House in Wake Med as well.
Well, and when you think about it with Duke and Wake Med, these are huge, hospital institutions that are known for their experimental drugs, and and you're treating a lot of terminally ill, I would imagine.
That is correct. And what we try to do here at the Ronald McDonald House, they actually show up with pillows in the back seat of their car because they're totally prepared to live out of their car for the 9 months their child is getting treated, if you can believe such a thing. So what we do is we provide them a warm, comfortable place to stay, nutritious meals, fully stocked refrigerators and cabinets and all that, so they can spend most of their time concentrating on the one thing they should be concentrating on and want to be concentrating on, and that's their child. And then we just love on them and take care of them the rest.
How long can someone stay?
They can stay as long as they qualify. We've got a family staying here now. This is a temporary place. It is not an apartment where people can live permanently. But currently we have a family that's staying here that is waiting for kidneys for their 17-year-old son who have been with us for 17 months.
Wow. And one thing that we spoke about too, what makes this particular house unique in many ways is the location, but also that there might be patients that actually will stay in the house as part of their just their recovery.
Yeah, and a lot of Ronald McDonald houses, the child is the patient and is in the hospital, and then the rest of the family stays at the Ronald McDonald house so they can be close to their child, keeping families close. Well, with Duke being Duke here, at any point in time, out of the 55 rooms we have here, over half of the family staying with us, the patient is staying with us too, and goes over to Duke to get their treatment, and then comes back here in between the treatments so they can stay close to their family, which helps everybody.
That's right. So when we think about aligning cause to that, what would be some of your wonderful partners or companies that really believe in the same philosophies and systems that you do that have really aligned and embraced your home?
Well, I think, Krista, you hit the nail on the head with what you just said, that align with.
Yeah.
Authenticity is the number one thing that, because we live in a very educated market right now. People can smell in
fake news.
Oh, absolutely. And there, if you want to have some fun, just Google failed cause marketing and you will see exactly what I'm talking about.
And a couple examples of that is,
well, the big Pepsi one with Kylie Jenner with the Pepsi, that was a huge epic fail. And then there was a beer company that tried to illustrate the disparity between men and women in their wages and tried to have paint beer that cost 20% less. That was an epic fail. So you have to be careful.
So there's do's and don'ts.
That's exactly right.
Certainly.
But what we have found, for example, at our gala that's coming up in March, every year at our gala, we honor somebody that is a strategic partner of ours for what they do for us. This next month, March the 6th, we're going to be honoring a local company that is called Trial Card, and they're in the clinical trial space, but they deal with the families that are in that space. And they started coming over here to cook lunches for our families. And there was such an incredible emotional alignment that they started coming more and more and started doing more and more for us. They got to know our guest families. Our guest families started to get to know them. And we're actually honoring Trial Card next month with our Heart of Gold Award, which is the highest award anybody can get from the Ronald.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great example too. Great example.
And it's not because anybody in their company actually stayed at a Ronald McDonald house, even though that happens a lot. It's that emotionally they connected with what we do. And so I think Simon Sinek is very famous for saying this in his TED Talks. He's like, with the why, and finding people who believe what you believe. And we don't spend any time from a marketing perspective internally trying to convert people from their cause to our cause. We're just out there educating people that may be looking for a cause and haven't aligned with one yet to come help us take care of our guest families.
And when we're addressing this topic of cause marketing, I would really like the audience to be thinking about what cause could I align with? You know, where's my heart and what can I give back? And not only for your company, but for you personally. And I'll give an example. I hadn't really thought clearly about this before, but I don't know if are you aware that I had skin cancer?
No.
2 years ago, and I had 60 sutures on my nose. Looks pretty good. So I had 60 sutures on my nose, and they said it was from laying in the sun, having too much exposure when I was younger. Anyhow, I felt the need to, because of the platform that I have and the people that know me, and I'm on the camera all the time, and here I am having to go on the camera with my nose all stitched up, that I wanted to get the awareness around early detection and skin cancer, just awareness for early detection and making sure that you've got some sun protection. So I started wearing a hat and kind of cloned myself as the hat lady. And I got some sponsorship with Wallaroo hats, which is a wonderful hat company that has a lot of
Yep.
UPF 50 in their hats. And I didn't realize that kind of was cause
That was
marketing.
cause marketing.
Yeah, I didn't even
right
know what I
there.
was
Yeah,
doing.
absolutely.
But and it was from the heart. I mean,
And
I
it was
didn't.
authentic.
Yeah, it was the real deal.
Wallaroo didn't pay you to wear those hats.
No, not at all. And I love my Wallaroo hats.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, let me just say the impact of cause marketing, if your company can get involved in this, is significant. I don't know how many people have come up to me over the year that they went to the dermatologist because they had never been, or now they're wearing hats, or making sure that they have sun protection. And so it made a difference.
It's called impact.
And it's called impact. And I think that's what companies can do on their community, on their customers, on their employees, if they were to align with that perfect cause.
Exactly right. In fact, imagine this. You're in a meeting
I'm going to
room.
look at this question while you do
Okay.
that.
You're in a meeting room and the owner of the company says two things or two scenarios. Scenario one is the owner of the company comes in and she says, all right, we need to align ourselves with a cause because everybody's expecting us to.
Mm-hmm.
Which one will give us the most bang for the buck?
Yeah, that's not the right way to look at it.
Or she says, okay, we're going to change the world in some way.
Mm-hmm.
What impact do you want to have and how?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you find your alignment.
Yeah. You know what? I almost like to change that word from cause marketing, because marketing puts that spin on it,
Right.
that it's more financial or more business or more self-serving. It should be like cause service, or
How about
cause
impact?
servicing.
Impact marketing.
Impact
Yeah.
marketing. Yeah, exactly. That's great. One of the things that we were talking about earlier was the impact that this type of marketing alignment can have on your own employees. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I was just thinking that when we were talking about changing the name to
Mhm.
impact marketing, because it's like any gift given with the heart. It's like you give it because you would like to present something to the other person, but you get tenfold what you
That's
give.
right.
The same thing happens when a strategic partnership is developed with an organization that is trying to make an impact in the world. You're trying to help that organization make the impact, but the impact it has on you personally is tenfold, and the impact it has on the company is tenfold from an engagement standpoint, a turnover standpoint, and actually a bottom line standpoint. Those are all should be ancillary benefits, but they're benefits nonetheless.
That's right. And I had read somewhere, and maybe you know more of the statistic around that so many of the new generation or millennials are only wanting to work for companies that have something to offer outside of just the job, that they really match that.
I would say it's a statistic, 91% of young people going in the market expect the company that they go work for is having a positive impact in the world in some way.
Yeah, and that is so non-traditional business, where it's just greed or sales focused or stockholder focused.
Yeah, well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with Simon Sinek and the why. It's like the why can never be money. That's a result. That is not the why.
That's right. One of the questions that we had was really a statement. It was one of our viewers confirming too that they believe in the Ronald McDonald House and the charities, and that they're aligned to it in their state.
Great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I thought that was
Thanks for that.
That was great. Thank you, Betsy, for sharing that. And I want to tell you, that I stayed at a Ronald McDonald House once, and when I walked in here, I just got this wonderful feeling, because I know what it did for my family at a time that we really needed the support and the help. My brother and his girlfriend gave birth to a baby with severe cerebral palsy, and they didn't have any insurance, they didn't have any money, and they needed to get them to a specialist. So you were there for them at a very, very important time in their life. But you also, meaning, Ronald McDonald Community, opened the doors to their extended family as we were coming to visit, because you wanted the family to be together.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, oh, you can afford to stay in a hotel, so you go stay in a hotel. We'll just take care of your brother and his wife. That wasn't what it was. You have family coming in. We want the family to be together. And I felt that, and that was a huge impact. And when I walked in these front doors today, just this wonderful feeling of being welcome, or, just purpose is just flooding in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in fact, you touched on something that sometimes is a little bit of a misconception with Ronald McDonald houses, and that is we open our doors to the ability to pay is not part of the conversation. And in fact, last year we had a professional golfer from California stay with us for a year with their child that had a very rare disease. And there was another family who is a part-time mechanic whose child had the same disease, and they became fast friends.
Yes.
Because of the disease, right? And my guess would be that that friendship never would have happened anywhere else.
And they needed each other.
But it happened so completely that when the professional golfer was able to go home, they had stayed with us for so long, they couldn't fly home. They had to rent a U-Haul to take all the stuff that they had accumulated and travel across the country to get home. Well, they swung by South Florida to visit their friends on the way back to California.
Oh, wow.
That tells you the bonds that happen here, which is one of the biggest benefits of the Ronald McDonald House, is the ability to talk to the only people in the world who truly understand what you're going through, and that's other people going through.
Yeah, and those other families. So this house, and we're sitting in this sanctuary room, it's beautiful, and I can hear the children playing and running up and down, which I love that sound. But how many families? Tell us a little bit about how many people and families you're caring for.
Okay, we have 55 rooms here in the Durham house, and we have 5 rooms in the house in Raleigh at Wake Med. And last year we had around 20,000 family night stays in our Ronald McDonald houses. And then we also have a family room inside of Wake Med in Raleigh and a family room inside of Duke Children's Hospital where people can get out of the hospital environment, wash their clothes, take a shower, get something to eat, that kind of thing. And we serve about 35,000 people a year.
Those are some
between
huge
those two.
numbers. And we got a little bit of a tour when we first came, and you were saying how many volunteers you have. It was like 8,000 something.
Yeah,
I mean,
8,500 volunteers help us. It's just pretty amazing.
We have a large Ronald McDonald house here in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
What type of volunteer opportunities are there in the Ronald McDonald House?
Baltimore just opened a huge new house in Baltimore, and Sandy Pagnotti is a dear friend of mine who's the org leader at the Baltimore house. Call her, tell her you saw this. After she quits laughing, after you tell her that you got her through me, you need to go there because they're incredible people in Baltimore, and they have lots of ways you can help.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I'm glad that someone asked that question. What that tells me is that people get it, and they get that it's not something that you just do because you're forced to do it or seems to be the thing to do nowadays,
right.
But that intent and that purpose and that passion, that alignment is so important. And seeking that out, trying to figure out what that is. It might not be Ronald McDonald, and we're certainly not here trying to sell this charity. That's like not at all our purpose for today. But wanted to make sure that we created awareness that there are many causes that need support and need the love that you could align with as a corporation.
I truly believe that one of the first things that happens to us as a human being when we're born is the need to really make a difference, to matter. In fact, Mark Twain has one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's like the 2 most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why you
figure it out. Yeah.
And everybody is searching for that. And they would love for it to be what they do every day at work. Unfortunately, that's really hard. But people don't want to spend their work life with work being a 4-letter word, and then whatever time is left over to try to make a difference. They want to incorporate that making a difference into their work life in some way. And it is becoming, instead of a kind of a rare thing for companies to do, there's actually a whole new classification of business called B Corps.
That's right.
That are focusing on this very thing. We want to grow. We want to be successful as a business, but we don't want to do it at anybody's expense.
Yes.
We want the world to be a better place because we are here. And second, primarily, as an employee of that company, you go home every day knowing that the world is a better place because you're in it
Because
too,
you're in it.
which is the whole purpose
Yeah.
of us being on this earth, I think.
Yeah, I just love everything that you're talking about. And most of my listeners know that I talk a lot about what you were doing when you were 10 years old,
Mhm.
because who you were in fourth and fifth grade and at your core is one step and one process of kind of reflecting backwards to discover who you are before society told you who you should be. And I see where you are today in your life. And I love that you jump out of bed every morning for what you do. And I'd like you to think about that.
Well, I can connect the dots back, and I've done it before. I actually mapped it out. We do something fun. This was
Yeah, some like life plan mapping.
There are things that I have accomplished in my life that I thought were accomplishments in and of themselves, but actually they were just preparation steps for what I do here every day. There were some things in my life that I barely survived. And I was wondering, there's the old saying, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, but I swear he had me confused with somebody else a couple of times. But I survived them. And the reason why I survived them was to be able to use that experience to help empathize with these guest families who are going through really tough times.
Now you know. I love that going backwards. So we talk about going backwards to move forward with more purpose and passion. And that's sometimes exactly what it takes. I heard someone mention this the other day, that it's the transportation, not the destination.
That's right, exactly.
And that's what that felt like when you were describing that.
In fact, I grew up in Rocky Mount, and our baseball hats had RM on it, and here I am at the Ronald McDonald house.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Now that's why when I saw that you took that position, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no better person on the face of this earth.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad that
Thank
you
you.
found your purpose and you're making such an impact in so many. I'm hopeful that during our talk today that we were able to make an impact on our audience in terms of what they can do to start getting more active and figuring it out, going backwards to move forward. What will be a terrific cause for you to align with so that you can feel as though you're living more purposefully and doing the things that you love and that you enjoy other than work.
I agree. And if I can offer a piece of advice, don't hesitate to try something thinking that you're committing yourself for the rest of your life. You're not. Try something. If it doesn't hit that place that you're searching for, they'll understand. Go try something else.
Yeah.
But there's something out there waiting for everybody, and I hope everybody will have the courage to go out and try to find it.
That's great. I appreciate that. I'd like to show a slide so that everyone knows maybe how to reach out to you or learn more about the Ronald McDonald charities, as well as the many houses that are across the world. And so we'll show that slide here. There you are, Oie.
Great, yeah.
Any way to that you would recommend for our community to maybe look into what's happening locally?
Well,
how many homes are there? 100.
There are around 185 in the United States right now, and I think they're close to 400 around the world. So chances are really good wherever you're watching this, there is a Ronald McDonald program close to you in some way. But if not, that's okay. If there's something that burns in your heart, just go for it. And there is no failure, because there's something inside of you that's wondering what would happen anyway. Worst case scenario, you do it, it didn't give you what you thought, and then you can kind of let that go and move on to the next thing. That's exactly right.
Well, great. Well, thanks so much for being my guest. I love being here.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you can join us today. Take care.
Good.
Yeah. Loved it.